All right, welcome to another episode of Comic Book Squares. We got another great one today. My name's Shane.
I'm Carrie.
I'm Ben. And I'm Mike. Let's get this show started.
Well, welcome to another episode of Comic Book Squares. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a really talented creator with us today. Laurie, can you just do me a favor and just kind of give us a brief elevator pitch for your book and everything that's going on with it?
Yes, I can. All right. So Path of the Pale Rider is a Western apocalypse comic book series where death has been broken. And what that looks like is your body can die, but your soul or your energy doesn't leave your body upon death. So we have undead and we have zombies, but they're not flesh craving, brain eating zombies. It's you, it's Shane, it's Carrie, it's Laurie, it's your neighbor, your mom. But as your brain decays in your skull, Shane, you start to lose your humanity. You lose your memories. You can get violent. You could become vegetative. It mimics more of like dementia and fast forward. So people become very chaotic. But it's not just people. It's animals, insects, fish. Nothing dies correctly any longer. Death is broken. So in this world, we start issue 1, 10 years into that apocalypse, and we're following kind of like the last guy still looking for the answer. Things have devolved back to the Wild West. So this cowboy, Jude St. Clair, is on this journey to figure out what broke death. It's kind of a wild ride, though. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. You had sent over the first 3 issues for us to read, and I blazed through them. I absolutely loved it. I just want to give a kudos to you for just having the ability to create something new in this genre, which is just so hard to do. So
Yes.
I'm just so impressed that you brought this new, fresh idea to this kind of zombie genre. It's really interesting and really fun. As I was reading it, the whole time I was thinking to myself, oh, a television station has to pick this up, or a network has to pick this up, because it is, I mean, they picked up Walking Dead, and this to me is so much more interesting because of what you just described. Yeah, the characters are really interesting. I love the kind of old, like you said, bringing it back to the old West, and the fact that you've incorporated animals into it is just also really different and interesting, and it adds a whole nother layer of things. And
Yes.
I'm not going to give anything away, but just there's like some news reports that happen throughout that explain what would happen, and just your creativity to come up with that and how that would impact it. I was blown away. Very impressed.
Thank
Very
you.
impressed.
Thank you. Yes. We spent a lot of time world building, and I want to tell people this because it's pertinent to when you read this, but the script was written as a full-length movie back in 2018. So when you read this, particularly issue number 3, we go back in time and we show the fall. We show everybody what happens with the day that death went missing. And it will remind you a lot of living through the pandemic. Being trapped in your house, limited food supply, riots, unrest. What's that?
I was in heaven.
Oh my gosh. When like the government making decisions left and right, like it was. But again, I mean, like when I wrote this in 2018, none of this, I hadn't lived through any of it. And my sister, who had read the script, read the script in 2018. And when we got to 2020, she called me up and she said, "Laurie, please stop writing." She's like, I don't want to do any more of this, please.
You're prophetic.
Like, oh, if it keeps going, we're in trouble. But yeah, it was originally intended to be on screen, either live action or animation. That would still be a dream of mine, but I am perfectly happy with the quality of work that I'm getting out of my artist. Marco DeFio is his name. He does incredible work. So we ended up doing comic book, and I'm very happy with that. So if it ends up just being a comic book for people to enjoy, I'm perfectly happy.
Well, now that you've brought up the artist, first of all, I want to say Shane beat me to the punch with how much I liked it. I loved your books. I text him and was like, "Oh my god, I love this. Have you read it yet?" And it's to go back to the artistry. Was
Yes.
it a conscious decision? Because your artistry in the book is, there's color, then there's black and white, there's mixes, it's never the same across throughout the entire comic. And so I was curious if that was a design, this idea that you had from the beginning, or if it's something you put in later on, or like the whole process that was, if you happen to know.
So issue number 1, when we released it, was completely black and white. And that was just strictly budget. We could not afford. Marco is a working artist. This is what he does for a living. So he gets paid a decent page rate. I know every artist deserves more than what they get, obviously. So we had to Kickstarter, for the first issue. And what we had was enough to produce a black and white issue. Now, we knew we wanted to do color from the jump. So what I did is I paid Marco to color a couple of the pages from issue number 1 so people could see the world the way it was intended to be. And they were just so beautiful. Whenever I send the PDF copy to someone for issue number 1, I include those pages in color that he did. And then when we kickstarted issue number 2, everybody was like, okay, what do we need to do to get it to color? Like, what's the dollar amount, right? So we got like super close. I think we were like a couple hundred away. So I bit the bullet and I paid out of pocket. So we did produce in color, and people really enjoyed it. Issue number 3, we did in color from the jump. We brought in a new colorist so we can move a little quicker, because right now we're producing about 2 comic books a year. We would like to do 3 and push ourselves to maybe 4. If we could do one every quarter, that would be ideal in my mind. But again, it just depends on all the moving parts, because it's not just me and Marco. You know what I mean? Then there's my editor, there's the printer,
Right.
there's the delivery people, right? I mean, there's so many places where things can get slowed down. So we brought in Matt Chambers on issue number 3. So the style of the coloring is slightly different. Matt Chambers will color number 4, which we're working on now. We kickstarted that one. We launched in September, finished in October. And then Matt Chambers actually went and colored issue number 1 in entirety.
Oh.
So we will be releasing a trade paperback of issues 1 through 4. And that will be the first time that people get to see issue number 1 redone in full color.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. I love it.
And his style is slightly different than Marco's. Issue number 2 is Marco's baby. He did pencil ink color. You know what I mean? So that's going to remain Marco's, but like, it'll be weird. It'll be like 1, 3, 4, and then forward will be Matt Chambers, and 2 is kind of like Marco's baby. No, I love it. Okay.
Roughly how many books are going to be in this series?
Okay. So the first arc is 12. It was a full-length movie again, so I had to break it up into many issues. So it's the traditional screenwriting method where it's like act 1, act 2, act 3. So it takes me about 4 issues to get through an act. So it's 12 issues the first arc. There's a second arc, 12 issues, and then there's a third arc, 12 issues. Wow. That's it. It's not ongoing though. There is an ending. When we get to issue 36, it's done.
Wow.
I mean, when you get to issue 36,
I'll be 95 years old.
Yeah.
What? Say again, Carrie, when that happens.
Your fingers will all be cramped up from writing.
Yeah, Marco will be like, I hate you, Laurie. Like, I'm going to pay you some more money, Marco. It's okay.
I was going to say, when you get to 36, it'll be well earned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In my mind, when we get to 36, if people don't have big feelings, I have failed at my
Yeah.
job. You know, we will find out what broke Death in the first 12. I think
Oh.
it's issue
Oh,
10. Jude figures it out.
already beating Walking Dead. So.
See what I mean? But here's the thing, because I love horror and I love zombie genre so much. And I've been, you know, like I've done research on like the evolution of how zombie genre, you know, came about, how it first started, where it went to, you know, in every decade, how they're constantly trying to change and adapt and come up with something new, right? So one of my big pet peeves is you get to see everybody try to survive, but no one's looking for the answer.
Yep.
And they don't sometimes even tell you what started it. It's a virus, but how and where? At least with what was the last one? Last of Us. They allude to it being contaminated flour and bread products. You know what I mean? Because of how it spread and what they avoided on that first day of, you know, everybody was contaminated with fungus. But most of the time, like, they're not trying to, you know what I mean? Well, they are. Ellie is the cure, but, you know, it's so much of it is, oh, spoiler there. Spoiler, everybody. If you haven't seen or played the game, sorry. Totally spoiled it for you. Go on, it's been out for years. Go freaking play it. And I think the series has been out for, I don't know, months, 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
Sometime
it's been out. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. I'm totally sorry. Oh, and by the way, the end of Path of the Pale. No, just kidding. Spoiler City. But you know, that's one of my huge pet peeves. So that's kind of what started this whole thing. Is all right. Let's break Death. What does that look like? And then how does this guy figure it out? How long does it take him? You know, he has a journal full of conspiracy theories that he's following around. Is there, you know, when the dead don't die? What?
Speaking of the journal.
Yes.
I love that he has little doodles of his horse in the journal.
Yeah.
You have that one, there's a panel where you're looking at it and you're kind of looking over his shoulder and he's looking at his journal and he's about to write in it. And I was like, there's little doodles. And I was like, of course.
Yeah. It's just him and his horse. Great. It's like The Witcher.
Yes.
You know? So that's his buddy. That's his lady. He takes good care of her. And it's like when there's just the two of them on the road, you're drawing pictures of the horse, you know?
Yeah.
Anything to keep your mind sane. But I love that. I love that page just because Jude's by himself. The world is quiet and dark. So he looks up and he's able to see the Milky Way. And it's beautiful. And he still takes the time, even in the apocalypse, to appreciate what is still beautiful in the world. And that's just kind of who he is. So everything in that issue 1 is very much, you know, decisions that he makes, telling the reader who Jude St. Clair is. Staying up all night because he's getting chased by wolves, making bad decisions in the morning because he's sleep deprived is bad. He does stupid stuff.
It's very relatable, though.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy. He's just a normal guy. It's not a superhero. Not a secret agent. Not a, you know, weapons master, martial artist.
Yeah.
He's just
I love that.
Dude.
Yeah. That's great. Well, one thing I did want to talk about is the kind of extracurricular stuff that you have going on with the book, from the riddles and the puzzles to the videos. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what your thought process was when you came up with all that?
Yes. So my journey into comics, I was writing short form web content. That's where I started writing. So that's why I'm in script, and I've always had a love for short films. I completed a short film. It was a martial arts short film called Catfishing back in 2017. And that's kind of like where I wanted, you know, I got the bug, right? And I started writing this. And then when we turned it into a comic book, I always knew that we wanted to explore more of the world with the short films. So commercials, news reports, maybe, short film here and there. Just the world is so big that I can't show you all the ins and outs in the comic. If Jude St. Clair can't show it to you, you're not seeing it in the comic. So he might be in Arizona when Washington, D.C. is burning down. You know what I mean? So it's just that the short films are meant to be fan interactive. I always let people know what I'm working on and what they can do to participate. They've sent in footage. They've sent in still frame pictures of themselves. I've had people take pictures of themselves as dead bodies. And then in the fourth one I'm working on now, I zombified about 40 people. So they just sent me a picture of themselves making like a zombie-ish face. And then I put it through a bunch of photo filters to make them look creepy. I like took out their pupils and yeah, it was great. Turned them green. And then so in the fourth one, they're all got collected by the police, right? So they're all missing. So I put like the reason why they got collected. So some of them are like got lost in the supermarket. One of them was attacking a chili cook-off, screaming, "I know the secret ingredient." Other people like trash in a movie theater, trash in a home goods store, wouldn't leave brunch. It's fun for them to see their face in it. But the whole point of those is like we can really do a deep dive into some of the more interesting aspects of the world that I can't spend. I don't want a fluff issue. And there's so much that happens in Jude's story. It's like, we got to go. We can't stop and focus on this. So that's what the short films do. It's like the second one we did was conspiracy theories. What are the conspiracy theories in the world? What are people thinking broke death? And I loved that one because people could say whatever they wanted. And it was nuts.
Yeah.
And I love that one too, because if you watch until the very end, you can see me get run over by a car. It's great.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there was one that made me laugh out loud. There was I think it was sentient yogurt.
Yes, the sentient yogurt. I think I have that in the description. I think it's on my Kickstarter, like describing the story. It's my little paragraph where I talk about Jude on his path, and it's like uncovering truths. What is he going to find? Is it government? Is it religion or aliens? Is it sentient yogurt? You don't know. Like, let's just find out.
I thought that was funny.
Yogurt. Oh, and I do like there was like an extra little piece where you could scan a
the riddles, yes.
And I thought that was brilliant. I
have a lot of fun with those.
That was awesome.
The back cover of every issue is a riddle, and it will take you to somewhere in the real world. So issue number 1, if you can solve it, it takes you to a group. Issue number 2, if you solve it, you actually get something in your mailbox from a character. You get to interact with the character like they're real. Issue number 3, that is the QR code scavenger hunt. So there's nothing to solve there, it's just a lot of fun. It's a walk through my brain. A lot of the QR codes are things that inspired Path of the Pale Rider. Some of them are just ridiculous. Like there's a Rickroll in there. There's the Swedish chef making hot sauce, because on that Kickstarter we had hot sauce as one of the rewards. I think there's one where He-Man is singing. I don't know. But one of the QR codes, is a short film put together by myself and my husband. It's a little creepy. It's kind of how I roll, but it's like found footage. It'd be like if you stumbled upon a hidden video by Anonymous. You know the group Anonymous?
Yep.
So in Path of the Pale Rider, there's a group called the Undead Underground. And they're kind of the ones that push back against the living. And they'll do stuff like teach you how to hack a disc, or teach you what kind of like makeup and chemical combination you can put on your skin to pass as human, or self-embalming, or what towns are sympathetic to undead and which ones should you stay away from. Stuff like that. So if you stumble upon a video from the Undead Underground, they're a little creepy.
Nice.
But you have to find it. You can't go to my YouTube page and just look at the Path of the Pale Rider playlist. You have to actually find the QR code in order to access the video.
That reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched She-Ra back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah.
But there was a game that they would play at the end of that cartoon where there was a creature, one of She-Ra's forest creatures or whatever it was, I can't remember, but it would be hiding in some scene throughout the episode, and you had to find the creature. I just loved that kind of interactive experience in some kind of media that I'm consuming. I'm not just watching it. There's something at the end of it for me to play and to try and, like, I need to pay more attention so that I really know how to beat the game, because
yes. Yeah. And so, I mean, it has different layers to it, but it's just whatever level of, participation people want. So if they just want to read the comic, that's the meat and potatoes. They're going to get the main story, but the short films and the riddles are meant to enhance the story. We also have a choose your own adventure book. I should have called it 99 Ways to Die in the West, but no. It's called Choose Your Own Path instead of Choose Your Own Adventure. And I really do kill people like every 5 pages. It's great.
Nice.
But it's exciting, and it's like there's characters in the Choose Your Own Adventure that you're going to meet later in the main story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's one particularly terrifying character named the Skinner. Yeah. You don't want to meet him.
Yeah,
just in time for Thanksgiving.
Bad. Yeah, yes. I know. He's weird. He breaks rules, and like he shouldn't exist. And he's just really dangerous, right? So you encountering him and maybe dying a few times at his hands, understand this. But when you get to the story, to the part where Jude doesn't know this. So Jude sees the Skinner. He's like, who's this guy? And everybody else is like, run, here's the signal, run, don't talk to him. Like, oh, that's a bad day. So you as the reader, if you participate in these extracurricular things, will know more about the story than even the protagonist at times, which is fun.
That's cool.
Very cool.
I love doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that whole idea of engaging the audience in other ways. And to your point, that I think ingratiates you more into the storytelling elements. I don't know if you remember, if you ever watched Lost when it was on television, but that was such a great kind of water cooler show, because there were so many story elements that were mysteries and things to solve and puzzles and riddles and stuff. And around that time, actually, Wired magazine did an interview with JJ, and he talked about his love for puzzles. And even in that article, there were puzzles to solve within the article. And I just thought the whole thing was just really fascinating to me. I love the whole idea of it. So when I saw that you were doing that, I was instantly hooked.
Cool. Yeah. They're a lot of fun. And I hope someday someone finds us later on and goes back and methodically just solves all the riddles.
Nice.
'Cause I'll know when those happen, because it triggers something for me to participate. So I'm like, oh, someone found issue number 2 and solved that riddle is amazing, So I'm hoping that people enjoy these in the future as well. So yeah, we do fun stuff. I mean, my story is so dark at times. It's really points a spotlight at the human race and how ugly we can be to each other. And I kind of try to walk a line where it's like, I'll show that, but I'll also try and make people laugh. So like one of our stretch goals on our last campaign is called the Slice and Dice. You have fun with these. So being a martial artist, right? I have a plethora of weapons, and the Slice and Dice, we destroy either a watermelon or a pumpkin or something, right? So the fans get to vote on the weapon, and they get to name the watermelon or pumpkin. And then we put it all together, right? So
nice.
On Halloween, I have a podcast called The Tuesday Morning Brew, where I interview, but we also do like fun stuff. So I did the Slice and Dice live on the Tuesday Morning Brew. I dressed up as Pikachu, and I had this giant modified Sledgehammer, and the pumpkin, they voted, let's see, the pumpkin's name was Ichabod Craven.
Nice.
And the only thing that I couldn't do, I was trying to light it on fire, and I didn't. It had been raining in Texas, and everything was just kind of wet, so I couldn't get. But I have figured out how to do it, where I'm going to modify this sledgehammer and be able to like have flames shooting out of it.
Wow.
So, I mean, we do crazy stuff like that just to kind of like as a break from how dark. But it's like we have a good balance of like, look how gross, and this person got destroyed by insects and but we're gonna smash a pumpkin on Tuesday. So we're an interesting fandom.
I love it. One thing I wanted to, I'm sorry, Carrie, I don't know if you wanted to jump in, but I had another quick question for you in regards to, this is one of the only times that I can remember somebody incorporating sign language into a piece.
Yes, so good.
And what was the thought process behind that? Is there somebody in your family that is hearing impaired that wanted you to incorporate that? What was the rationale behind it?
No.
Okay.
There's a few of us that know I'm not fluent, but a couple of my aunts used to teach sign language. But it fits so well with the story. One of the things in this world that is so important is sound. How to be quiet. And sometimes the world can be extremely loud. And one of the things that actually works to Jude's advantage, maybe one of the reasons why he's been around so long, is his ability to communicate via ASL. Now, does he use it that way most of the time? No, he's usually calling people douchebags with his fingers while they're playing poker, because he's a sarcastic bastard. But it will come into play in the story. It is very important to the story. So obviously he has a family member that is deaf, and that's how he understands ASL. But you will see him sign every now and again. But the issues when he's with his family, you will see quite a bit of American Sign Language. So, Hawkeye utilizes ASL in the comic, and I use them a lot as reference. I'm like, okay, how did they tackle this? And I'll go look and see how they showed, the ASL throughout Hawkeye story. So it's great influence.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Even one of the riddles is in ASL.
Nice.
You can just Google American Sign Language alphabet and you can be able to decipher it. Trust me. Give you a hint.
I know the alphabet.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But you'll see more than that. Jude likes to curse in ASL. I have a T-shirt where he has like the Thank you, Marco. That was an amazing shirt.
Nice.
I told my mom she wasn't allowed to wear it. My dad wears it though. It's hilarious.
That's funny. Very cool.
Yes.
So, so as far as, being an independent, comic book creator, and, you had to wear all these hats. Not only are you creating, but now, you've added all these other layers onto it, as far as creating these puzzles and filming short films. And, like you said, working with the editor and doing all the publishing and getting everything printed and all that, but also marketing is a huge element of it. How are you getting the word out about it? Are you doing conventions, going to comic book shops? How are you working at?
Yes, and yes, and yes. There's about 4 different avenues. So, of course, conventions. I do a lot of local right now. I've only been doing comics since 2022. We self-published in July of 2022. The book got picked up by Charter Comics, which is our publisher, that fall. So like September, we got picked up by Charter. So 2, 3, and 4 will be published by Charter. We also have a distributor in the UK. They're called ASAP Imagination, and they have this whole, you know them? Of course. Yes. And then they have an offshoot called NE1, so the number 1 world. Yep. So I am there as well.
Nice.
So I have those 2 groups that help push. I do go to local comic book stores. I am in quite a few comic book stores. Let me see whether like close. We're almost to 10, I think. I have a store in Michigan. I have a store in Kansas City, Missouri that's coming up. I'm working on a one in California, and I got about a handful here in Texas. The ones in Texas, I will make appearances. I like to go to Pastime Comics in Waukegan, and I go to Geek Out in Burleson. There's Titan in downtown Dallas. And then Carpe Diem, I just added to my repertoire. They're in McKinney, Texas. They're probably the closest one to me. And then there's one in Plano that's on my radar that I need to go say hi to. But I love to set up a table and just chat with people. People are very supportive of local writers and artists. They love to support. They love indie because they see the inherent value of something new.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's putting their heart, soul into this passion project and trying to get their name out there. So I do that. Of course, social media, I have the whole gamut, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, website. I know I'm missing something. But I mean, we have a shop on our websites. People can go there and always pick up issues if we're between campaigns. And then what's the other one? Oh, and then podcasts. So I love going on podcasts like this one, where I just talk and nerd out and talk about the story. And I also have 2 podcasts. I do the Anyone World Showcase every Wednesday, where I interview the Anyone World creators on the show. And then on Tuesdays, I have the Tuesday Morning Brew on the Madness Comic Network. And that one, it's anybody. I've interviewed novelists. I've interviewed actors and actresses. I interviewed this young woman who was a ventriloquist. She was 13, and she's a ventriloquist and plays the guitar and sings. Sandy Nesbitt. She's amazing. But yeah, so anytime I get to build community and go out and, talk about Path of the Pale Rider, I'm there. I'm still, everybody still pitches to Image and pitches to, we all pitch, and hopefully someday it'll get picked up. I did have, Marco and I went to this podcast in person called In Between the Bubbles, and we got to meet Ben Dunn, who is the writer-creator of Warrior Nun, that's on Netflix. And Ninja High School, and Ninja Warrior High School, Ninja High School. I'm not familiar with his comic that he's working on right now, but he was really a cool guy. And he was like, "Why didn't you pitch to Netflix?" And I was like, "Because I don't know how." And he was like, "You need to pitch to Netflix." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you want to help me do that?" And he was like, "Yeah. Call me afterwards." I'm like, "Okay."
Nice.
Awesome.
We'll see if that happens.
And
That's
if not
very cool.
Netflix, try Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, that's running with the big boys. So I would probably need to get some kind of agent for that, a literary agent. But I'm having fun doing I'm always having fun. You know what I mean? Like, hey, short film. Like, look what we did. We smashed a pumpkin. So I don't want that to end, and I don't want to lose creative control right now because we're early in the story. But someday, I don't know, down the road.
I mean, you just touched upon it, and for me, like you said, people support indie and what it brings to the table, and you just touched upon it real briefly there, as far as not wanting to lose control. And I think that's the thing that's super special about indie, and what I love most about it is that when you get to that level of Netflix or Amazon, you're going to get a dozen different producers are going to come in, and I really like what you're doing, but what you need here is a clown. And so, and they'll
your female character is great, but she should wear less clothes.
And she should have more of a figure.
Right. Oops, her top fell off. Oh
no.
It's just what happens.
It's what happens when she fights, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. All the superheroes, I don't know how they keep their tops on.
So that's why I love the whole idea of you keeping it, what's coming out of your head directly onto the page is what makes it most interesting and exciting for me. And that's why like I said at the beginning, how just impressed I was that you're able to bring such a fresh, unique take to this genre.
Thank you.
Just super impressed. I loved everything about it. So
That brought up some old childhood trauma for me.
did it. I'm sorry.
I just
Which
knew.
part?
I can't say. It gives away too much.
You have to tell me later.
I will. I'll tell you off
I-
camera.
Yeah, it could be an
um,
event that happens in issue 1.
It is. It's very
Oh
much.
no, I'm so sorry.
a thing that happens in issue 1, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, I knew it."
We'll have a conversation about that off camera. But I
Yeah.
have friends of mine that I was like, listen, this issue will be bad, but it'll be much worse for you guys because.
Because.
I was like, so
I named
don't
all
hate
the
me.
characters after you.
Right. I'm like, I'm going to warn you. Okay. I'm like, I'm sorry if it's spoiling anything, but I don't want you to come for me.
Don't come for me.
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not often. I mean, we read a lot of comics.
Yes.
Through the show, we do, the reviews, interviews. I'm just on our own free time, whatever we read, and it's just the work you guys did to really hook people in that first issue is so good, because you really don't give a ton of information in that first issue,
right?
And and we read a lot of first issues, and they don't always really like grab you by that Acme hook, and pull you off stage. It really was it was really well put together, and I do see how, because I'm a writer, and so I appreciate how you've structured all of them as well, because going into the third issue, I was like, oh, this is going to be about blah blah blah, and then it was something completely different. I was like, oh, this is so good. It's so good. I needed this. I didn't even know I needed it.
Yes.
What did you think about the end of number 3? Did you throw the comic? Were you mad?
No, I went to your website because I was like, wait, this is it? Like,
Wait.
When's the fourth one coming? Oh, the third one just came out. Oh no.
We're working on it. The goal is we'll probably have it done by the end of the year. We said on the Kickstarter sometime in January to deliver, just because the holidays and every year everybody tries to push their projects before the end of the year, so all the printers get backed up, and then with the holiday shipping. So we'll probably be done in December, but we probably won't ship until January, just to give us time to get everything out in a timely fashion. But it is coming. And like I said, we will speed up now that we have more people. And then the trade paperback is coming next on the Kickstarter, where it'll be issues 1 through 4, completely in color. It'll have additional pages from Jude's journal. It'll have all the variant covers that have been produced through 1 through 4. I'm going to include a map. And I think a portion of the script will be in there as well. So there'll be some good bonus material in that trade paperback. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it.
That's, I'm excited for it.
Thanks.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're all on board.
Well, I'm just,
Thank you.
Well,
I appreciate that. I mean, I love doing shows, and you always hope to touch at least one person, if they like horror, or they like westerns, or they like sci-fi or conspiracy theories. We check off a lot of we check off a lot of boxes with this story. So I'm always hoping to find at least one person that's like, yes. And I found 2, so that's amazing. Hopefully more, right?
Yes, hopefully more. Well, hopefully we can reach more through the show. So,
that would be great.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for sharing the work with us. I mean, I just, like I said, I can't praise it enough. It's fantastic stuff. So if you're watching this show, please go seek this out. It's really fantastic. Well worth your time. And so, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. I always enjoy coming on. This was a blast. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so we can keep bringing you content like this. And we'll see you on the next one.